Hello everybody, this is Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we are now starting our Facebook Live in our Psychic Protection Help for Psychic Attack Facebook group. Excuse me. We were doing our Facebook Live classes once a week for several months, and now we are going to once a month. So it feels like forever since I've talked with you all. We took a break over the holidays, so for the time being we're going to do once a month, and I just follow my inner guidance and as far as how often we are supposed to connect. So hello Jeannie, good to see you, and as usual for my Facebook Lives, when you join, go ahead and tell us where you're joining from. Today's topic is, oh goodness, I need to have something. Here we go. Today's topic is how the dark forces use your vulnerabilities against you. So it's a pretty, it's more of one of our intense topics. We cover a lot of different things in here, from the softer kinds of things, if you're an empath, how to manage your energy, all the way into talking about the dark forces and psychic attack and all of that. And I'm kind of expecting that we're going to have a smaller group in here today. That usually happens at the beginning of the year when we've had the holidays off and we're just getting our momentum again. But hopefully you will all surprise me, and a whole bunch of you will come flooding in, because I've been posting this class all over the place. Jeannie is joining us from Piper, Kansas. Good to see you. You're the lone watcher right now, and that is okay. So let me tell you guys, those of you who are watching the replay and those of you who are live, when I wrote out the notes for this class, I was like, oh my God, we are covering so much. So you might want to get a pen and a paper. And if you're new to, and Jeannie says Lone Ranger, yep, you are. So if you're new to this Facebook group, the Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group, when I do my Facebook Lives, I do them differently than a lot of people that I see out there. This is like a class. Like, I am teaching you like you're coming to a paid class. It might be a little more relaxed because it's Facebook Live. So we can't be too formal here. But I give you my all, and we go through, I usually try to pack our time together. So you might want to grab a pen and a paper. Okay. So usually at the beginning of our Facebook Lives, I also go through some announcements and some other general info before we get into our content for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and that also allows whoever else is going to join us to show up. Jeannie says, I'm sure more folks will show up. It's all good. I was actually planning, every year when we take a break over the holidays and then we come back in January. Last January's class was like super small. But this January's topic, I think, is even more potent. So hopefully more people will join us, so that if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask live. But even if you're watching the replay, you can always post questions, whether you're watching the replay on Facebook, and then later I upload it to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can ask questions too. Okay, so just a little bit of FYI info before we get into our topic at hand. My name, as I mentioned before, my name's Zahira, and I'm with Psychic Protection Sanctuary. That's the name of my business. That's also the name of this Facebook group, where we are offering support to people feeling challenged with managing their energy, as well as people who are experiencing psychic attack, unwanted paranormal activity, and so on. I do have a website if you feel like you'd like to explore more about what it is that I do, and you think you might want to work with me or take one of my programs. And my website is www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And real quick, I do have a book that's really informative, and it's Darkness Disguised as Light: The Hidden Truth About Psychic Protection and the Illusion Matrix by me, Maya Zahira. And there's the whole story about how I got into doing this work. Oops, I'll put this over here. The whole story about how I got into doing this work, as well as at the end of every chapter, there's a lesson and information on energy, psychic attack, intuitive development. What else? There's different chapters that cover techniques for how to clear unwanted paranormal activity. And if this tells you anything, there's all 5-star reviews on Amazon for this book. So if you're thinking of working with me, that would be a really economical way to start, because the book is under $20 and chock full of info. Let's see here. So I do have 2 Facebook groups. There's this one, Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and then my other one, and I'm going to mention that right now because it applies to tonight's class. My other group is Spiritual Empowerment Community with Maya Zahira, Spiritual Empowerment Community. And on that group, it's all about personal empowerment and looking at where you're leaking energy in your life and so on. And I'm going to mention that group a little bit later, because you might want to hop on over there later. I'll explain. Let's see here. Okay, so before we go into today's topic, I want to do something different. I am going to pull a card. I have an oracle deck here, and I'm going to shuffle and pull a card, and with the intent that whoever watches this class will receive the information that they need. So my question is, what do we all need to know regarding psychic protection? So what is it that we all need to be aware of? This is basically a forecast for the next few weeks for you, whenever you happen to be watching this, okay? So a little forecast for you on what you need to be watching out for, what you need to be aware of in regards to psychic protection and managing your energy. So let me go ahead and I'm shuffling right now, mixing cards. Okay, I'm going to pull 3 cards. Okay, so first card that I've got is Triumphant Success. And how I use these cards, I don't take them literally. I look at the card and then I get a message about what it means in this particular situation. So notice that we've got a sword. This is like a very, like a warrior kind of energy. And the sword also reminds me of the fact that if you're dealing with any energy cords, any energetic connections between you and a person or an entity that's not beneficial, then you have the ability to cut those cords. Imagining a sacred sword of light, you can just chop those energy cords. And also this card indicates that you are a powerful warrior, and you can just be confident in that. Like, your true power is knowing that you are powerful. Okay? That's your true power, knowing that you are powerful. There's nothing out there that is more powerful than you. And we have to remember that. You don't want to just kind of welcome everything in, all sorts of entities in, saying, oh, I'm more powerful than everything, so it can't hurt me. You don't want to be dumb. You don't want to like walk into like a nest of vipers or something like that and just be asking for trouble. But if something shows up, just know that you are more powerful than you realize. So I want you to take some time to let that sink in for you. The next card that I get is light. And now that we are in the deep of winter time, I keep seeing this theme coming up. And this theme is about, even though it's dark right now, it's very dark where I'm at. It's been like cloudy and overcast and cold. You might be living somewhere where it's warm and sunny. Either way, a very powerful practice is to draw light into your being. That helps to strengthen your physical health. So if you're having health challenges, then if you're having health challenges, if you're having energy challenges where other people's energy affects you too easily, or if you're having entity issues, whatever it is, you can sit quietly in meditation with your eyes closed and just visualize golden or white light coming in through the top of your energy field, filling up your whole auric field, your entire aura, and filling up your physical body, infusing every cell with light. This raises your vibration, and it makes you less of a match for some of those challenging energies. So it makes you stronger energetically. Okay? And this card, base chakra, there's a bit of a glare. Base chakra. This is part of your energy system. It's one of your chakras, and there are 7 primary chakras. There's actually infinite, but 7, there are 7 that are connected with your physical body. And the base chakra, or what I call the root chakra, is located at the base of your spine. So it's right below where you're sitting. It's a vortex of light that helps you to connect with earth. It helps you to ground. And what I'm getting a download right now that there are a lot of you who will be watching this and who are watching this who are needing to ground more. So that involves, getting out. Well, if it's freezing cold, I'll talk about another alternative, but weather permitting, that you get yourself, the most direct way to ground is to get yourself outside, plant your feet on the ground, or sit your butt on the ground and plug into the earth. If it's too cold, then you can do a meditation where you're visualizing that you're sending roots down into the earth and rooting in. The other message that I'm getting related to this card is that when it comes to your root chakra, that also has to do with survival issues and fear. So fear related to survival, like that primal fear. And what I'm getting is that a lot of you are actually needing to address some of the emotional stuff that's going on with you related to being in a state of fear. And I say this with compassion and clarity, that it's just simply something that needs to be addressed. And when it comes to addressing the primal fears about survival and about health, about surviving in your physical form on the planet, being able to pay your bills, those kinds of things. When I talk about that, that's what I mean, okay? And you can work through these issues by talking to a friend, journaling, working with a therapist, and going really deep, okay? Looking at like the root causes of some of those primal fears. The thing is when you have a lot of fear in your energy field, that actually makes you more vulnerable. It can make you more vulnerable to psychic protection issues, psychic attack issues. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're definitely going to experience psychic attack, but it definitely makes you more accessible. It makes you more attractive to lower vibration beings, because they love to feed off of the energy of fear as well as the energy of suffering. So, really, it's necessary to work through some of those issues. Definitely necessary. Okay, so don't expect to resolve those issues overnight. It takes time, but it's just something to have an awareness of so that you can continue to work on it as you work on strengthening your energy and strengthening yourself overall. Okay, so that I wanted to go ahead and do a little reading for us all so you could see what that is like. And I'm also seeing, I just had a card fall out, so I want to go over this real quick before we do the rest of our, before we dive into our topic for today. And it is, let's see if we can get it in focus. It's positive movement forward. And when this fell out, I just really felt good about the things that we just talked about. Drawing in the light, drawing in light energy, and working with the imagery of the sword and knowing that you are powerful and strong, and also working on addressing your primal fears, that in focusing on those three things, you are going to be moving in a good direction, energetically, spiritually. So good things are coming. This person is, sailing into the sun. The energy is looking good. So work on those three things and you're going to be moving in a good direction. Okay, so now for our topic for today. And by the way, as I mentioned, we usually have a lot more people joining live, so it's usually a lot more interactive, but that's okay today. I have plenty to cover. And those of you who are here live, the few of you who are here live, feel free to jump in if you have any questions along the way, okay? Okay, so our topic is how the dark forces use your vulnerabilities against you and what to do about it. So I feel like I want to first clarify what I mean by the dark forces. That's a term that I use a lot when I'm working with my psychic protection mentorship students in my 6-month program. It's a term that I use in my book. It's a term that I use when I'm talking to colleagues and we're sharing things together. But if you're new to this, or even not new, you might not know what I mean by the dark forces. So what I mean by the dark forces, I mean it as a catch-all term that includes all malevolent beings out there. So it's like all of them, okay? And so all low vibration entities. And if you want to think of it as like a network, so they're all individual entities, but they are connected together through an energetic network. And because they're connected as a network, they tend to have a connected agenda. So, where they have different agendas, and there's actually different races, I'll call them races or types of spiritual beings out there that have their own individual, their own unique agendas, but then as a whole, the dark forces tends to have certain agendas and they work together. There are different agendas that they have. One of them, one of the agendas is to keep light workers down. So by light worker, I'm also using that as a really broad term for people living on the planet today who have an important soul purpose to assist the planet, to assist in some way. And that can be the janitor who is sharing loving kindness with the people that he or she encounters. That can be the spiritual teacher. That can be anybody in between. So there's no, you don't have to be a spiritual teacher like I am in order to be a light worker, in order to be someone whose purpose is to bring more authentic light into this world. And the agenda of the dark forces is to keep light workers from being able to fully do their work. So to keep them down, to keep them distracted, or to diminish their light, lower their vibration, keep them under attack of one form or another, so that they won't be fulfilling their mission in the highest and best way that they possibly could. So when I say, the dark forces using vulnerabilities against you, I'm acknowledging that you are also a light worker. You are someone living on the planet today whose purpose is to share more light. And that can be to share light in just small little ways with your smaller community. It can be just existing. If someone's watching who lives in the middle of nowhere by themselves and never sees anyone and doesn't interact hardly at all, still your vibration, your very existence is having a positive impact on the planet. And then those of you who are more interactive, and going out and doing specific things to help different issues on the planet. So you are all light workers, okay? And there are different things that the dark forces do in order to keep you down. Now, some of you will be more impacted by this than others. It just depends on your makeup. It depends on your history. Let me think of what else I want to say. So some of you will be more impacted than others. So as I go through this list, you might recognize your own issues, or you might feel like everything's going great for you. So like I said, some people will be more affected than others. But it's important to know these ways that it's very common for the dark forces to use these methods, to use these vulnerabilities against people. And awareness is that is where your power is. Understanding what's going on, then that helps you to, as soon as you have an awareness, then you can often snap out of it or make it so the whatever the attack is not affecting you as much. Okay, so let me get a drink and we're going to go over 8 different vulnerabilities. Welcome, Jennifer. It's good to see you. We have a tiny little group here today. You might want to get a pen and paper because we're going to go through this list of 8. And I'm spilling it. Trying to drink too fast. All right. So, there's probably more to this list, but as I was thinking about our lesson for today, I just started writing a whole bunch of things down, and there's probably some things that I left off. So before I go into the first item, when I say vulnerabilities, I mean these are issues that you would already have either way. Like you might already have these issues or tendencies, and then the dark forces come along and they aggravate the issue. They make it worse. They amplify the issue that's already there by either sending negative people into your life. So people can be manipulated to psychically attack you. That's what I call a secondary psychic attack. Hi, Jennifer. So the dark forces can send people into your life, toxic people, people who are energy vampires, romantic relationships that are toxic, all sorts of issues, people who are very high drama. So the dark forces can send people into your life and also can take certain issues that you already have and then amplify those issues. So they do this by sending, it's basically like frequencies of energy to affect you, or even sending entities to plug in, and then they feed that energy into you. And I say this all from experience as a clairvoyant. So and clairaudient. I mean, I have all the clairs. So I'm able to see this stuff, and I've experienced it firsthand. So number one on the list is mental health challenges. So if someone already has a tendency toward either depression, anxiety, let's see what else is on my list, overwhelm, anger issues, or even more serious types of mental illness like psychosis, or any number of issues with mental illness, then let's say they already have a tendency towards this, then the dark forces will come along and either by any of those means that I just described, sending an entity to attach to you, sending a person into your life, sending energy frequencies, vibrations that that aggravate the depression or the anxiety or the overwhelm or the whatever. So some of those mental health challenges can be caused by entity issues, but it gets confusing because a lot of times you have that issue to begin with, but then the energetic or the entity issue comes along and makes it 10 times worse. So they amplify it. And this is where it gets really hard for people to figure out, is it coming from psychic attack, or is it like, do I have a chemical imbalance in my brain, or is there like a genuine mental health issue? And it can be very hard to discern because sometimes it's both. Okay, sometimes it's both. So that's number one on the list of vulnerabilities that the dark forces can use against you. If you've got mental health issues, then they will amplify that if you happen to be under attack. And hopefully you're lucky enough that they don't take advantage of that vulnerability. But you should know if it's a vulnerability, if it's one of your weak spots, something that you struggle with, then that is definitely an area. If you ever start to get on the radar of the dark forces, if you're on their radar, they will try to take advantage of that weakness, or I don't want to call it a weakness, but that struggle, okay? They will take advantage of that and amplify it. Yeah. Jennifer is saying anxiety. Yeah. Now, number two on the list, I put the category of Emotional and behavioral challenges, so a little bit different from mental health. Issues like low self-esteem, body image issues, worthiness issues, not feeling worthy enough, lack of motivation, lack of direction in your life. Maybe you're somebody who's really disorganized or somebody who's really ungrounded. Or you might be somebody who has boundary issues, or you have trouble speaking up for yourself. Those might be patterns that you might have. Excuse me. And if you have some of those patterns if you have some of those patterns, then the dark forces can amplify them. So let's take body image for example. If you have some body image issues, but then the dark forces come along, there's an entity that hooks into you and is like maybe plugging into your brain. I see this a lot, plugging into your brain or talking into your ear and telling you how horrible and gross you are, blah, blah, blah. That is an example of an issue that's already there being amplified. And I will see issues that get amplified like times 10 or more. So that's just one example out of the list, the body image, but it can be any of those. The boundaries, the dark forces will send people into your life, and we're going to talk about people in a little bit, but they'll send people who are boundary violators. So some of these categories overlap. The next vulnerability that the dark forces love to take advantage of is addiction. If somebody already has a tendency toward addiction, so if they already have a behavioral tendency towards it, they're already struggling a little bit, or even if they have it in their DNA, then the dark forces will use that against you. I'm not saying that they will with you, but it is so common, okay? So what they'll do is they will send an entity or entities or even a person, a relationship, in order to activate that addiction. So for example, when I say entities, what might attach to the person is a human soul who was an alcoholic in their lifetime. And so they will attach to the vulnerable person who has never had an alcoholism problem, but they have it in their DNA, let's say. Then this alcoholic spirit attaches to them and then activates all of these urges. Now, the dark forces in general love to feed off of the energy of suffering. And so that's the purpose of them doing this. Also, if you're a light worker, is to keep you down. Okay. So when I say addiction, I mean alcohol, drugs, sex, porn, online computer stuff, video games, relationship addictions, being addicted to relationships that are not healthy for you. You name it, any kind of addiction, they will work with that. So if that is a vulnerability of yours, then they will amplify it even more. Okay. Here's another one. This is number 4 on the list. And welcome. We've got Sharon and Stephanie. Tell us where you're joining from. Hello. We've got people slowly coming in. So number 4 on the list of ways that the dark forces use your vulnerabilities against you is through your triggers, through your emotional triggers. So you might be able to think of like if there's something that really triggers you, like big time, okay? Then what the universe will do, Sharon is joining us from Lenexa. Hello, Lenexa, Kansas. So what the dark forces will do is send people into your life to trigger whatever your trigger is. So a lot of times when those people are sent, it's not random. Like part of it is that you're needing to work through some of your inner issues that are causing that trigger. So you need to do your inner work. But oftentimes it can also be that there's interference from the dark forces, trying to keep you so distracted and trying to deal with, like, you're just so angry or upset or sad or depressed because this trigger keeps getting triggered. If you're so busy with that, you're not going to be doing your light work. So for me, one of my big triggers that I'm very aware of is that I get very triggered when I feel that people are projecting their stuff onto me. So when I feel like wrongly accused and all of that, and I won't go into like that comes from childhood. There's a reason for that. We all have a reason for our triggers, okay? And so the first thing is we have to become more aware of what our triggers are, so that we're not just reacting in a very unconscious way. We can try to be a little more grounded when the trigger happens. And also keeping in mind that when someone comes along that's activating the trigger, it's an opportunity for us to heal ourselves, but it also could be an indication that there's some interference happening from the dark forces trying to stir things up for you. And Stephanie is saying, yes, yep. Yeah, we talked about this recently. Number 5 on the list of ways that the dark forces can use your vulnerabilities against you is through your false limiting beliefs. Now, I mentioned earlier, I referred to my other Facebook group, Spiritual Empowerment Community, with Maya Zahira, Spiritual Empowerment Community. And the reason why I mentioned that then, and I'm going to bring it up now, is that I taught a whole 1-hour class today through Facebook Live in that group, all about false limiting beliefs. So if you want to go deeper into that, then head on over to that group and join and watch. It's day 11 of our 14-day Facebook challenge that's going on in there. So just briefly though, a false limiting belief is something that you believe to be true, but it's actually not true. So just because you believe something doesn't mean that it's true. A lot of times we have beliefs that are not serving us, and we'll have experiences, or we'll make observations, especially when we're young, when we're very impressionable. Something happens to us, or we observe something, and then we develop a belief based on that experience. And then we take that belief into adulthood, and we create I forget what it's called, self-fulfilling prophecies, where we make it true, and we also draw that kind of energy to us as well. So if you have a false limiting belief, let me grab my notes from that other class. If you have a false limiting belief like people can't be trusted, it's not safe for me to speak up. Let's see what else we've got. Life is hard. No one cares about me. People reject me. All sorts of things like that. Then the dark forces will have a heyday with false limiting beliefs like that. And they will send all sorts of people your way to, to support that vulnerability that you have, that false limiting belief. And this is why this is why I actually have 2 groups. It's because it's so important to be doing your personal transformation work and to be working through your stuff, to be working through your inner shadows. Because if you don't, then that makes you more vulnerable to psychic attack issues. It just does. I've worked with a lot of clients, and it's a twofold thing. You've got to learn how to manage your energy and clear out psychic attack issues, but you also have to work on your own false limiting beliefs, your own triggers, all of that, working on, continuing to heal those things. Number 6 on the list of things that the dark forces will use against you, vulnerabilities that you already have. Number 6 is relationships. This is a big one. So if you already have an issue with relationships, like if you have an issue with discernment or boundaries, that sort of thing, or if you have past trauma, or you learned patterns in relationships that were really not that healthy when you were growing up or when you were a teenager, then some of those relationship habits that you've taken with you into adulthood can be used against you. So, and even if you don't have any of those issues, even if you don't have discernment issues, boundary issues, past trauma, and you're like still super healthy, okay, like you're on the ball relationship wise, even then the dark forces can still target you. And there's two different main things that can happen. The first is that they will send people to you, friends, co-workers, random person at the gas station, like random people, whatever. They will send people into your life to stir up, to kick up drama. So you're so busy dealing with all of that drama, that unnecessary drama, that it's taking you off of your soul purpose. Okay. The second thing in regards to relationships, and this is really common, that for light workers, it's very common for the dark forces to send romantic matches, or maybe I shouldn't call them matches because they're not really good matches, but they will send romantic interests into your life who are predators of some kind or another, who are abusers, who are entity infested, who are demonic infested, and all sorts of wacky issues. Okay. And this is definitely a thing. And I can feel some of you who are going to be watching this in the replay, I can feel some of you gasping. I just can feel the, oh my God, the recognition, because some of you who are going to be watching this have had this issue where people have been sent into your life very deliberately in order to suck your energy, in order to diminish your light and keep you small so that you won't be fully living your light purpose. Okay. So once you have this awareness, you'll be a lot more careful about the relationships that you engage in. And then also when the friend drama, the friend, acquaintance, coworker, etc. drama happens, you'll be able to go, aha, I see what that is. That's not even a real thing. Like they're just like, once you see, oh, that's just the dark forces trying to push me off my focus. Then once you realize that, then you're like, okay, I see what you're doing. Then it's less likely to affect you in such a big way. But when you don't know what's happening, then you get sucked into that person's whirlwind and you're like trying to clean up the mess. So awareness is so important. Number 7 on the list of vulnerabilities is health. If you already have a tendency toward health issues, then psychic attack can make it worse. Now, if you have health issues, it does not automatically mean that your health issues are caused by psychic attack. There are plenty of people on the planet who are experiencing, I'm going to say like normal health issues, although we can't really say they're normal, but because it doesn't feel normal when I'm going through health issues, but very human-based, mundane health issues as opposed to spiritual warfare types of health issues. So don't assume, if you're having a health issue, don't assume that you automatically are under a psychic attack. But just know that if you have a tendency, so if you have the genetic makeup, or if you are run down, or if you already have an illness, then that's a vulnerable spot. And so the dark forces will take it. If you are on their target and they want to mess with you, and you're struggling with illness, then that would be an area where they would target, most likely. And I say this from experience because that has happened to me a number of times where, just in my daily life, I am dealing with some health issues, okay, some chronic health issues. And when I'm under psychic attack, then all of the symptoms are worse, okay? So for me, it's autoimmune issues, and then the cascade of symptoms that come with that, the brain fog, the body pain, the exhaustion, like all of that, it's magnified times 10. And so I've figured that out over the years. I didn't know that that was what was happening. Yes, sometimes there are other triggers, like maybe I've been under stress, or maybe my body is going through something, and it isn't psychic attack, it's just my body. But there are other times where I've figured out, ooh, okay, I'm feeling so much worse, and the brain fog is so bad because there's a whole bunch of like this bad energy coming at me. Then that's how my body is responding to it. Okay, so it can be an indication. And overall, with all of these issues that we've gone over so far, it's about becoming more self-aware and just observing yourself, and being able to tune into your body, being able to tune into your mental state, and knowing what is your quote normal, because everybody's normal is different. Okay. And then I'm going to go over number 8, and then we've got a comment from Stephanie. So number 8 on the list of vulnerable areas where the dark forces might try to whack you down is through money. So if you have any mental blocks or false limiting beliefs or anything like that relating to money, then you better bet that if you are coming under attack by the dark forces, they will try to mess with your money, by making there be a scarcity or some kind of fear or drama related to your money. And if you're kept in scarcity, then you're also in survival mode, and there's all this primal fear, and that makes you even more vulnerable. So money is definitely an area where some people, if they already have a vulnerability there, then when they're under psychic attack, that's where it gets them right in the belt, right? So they might have like their bank account goes negative, or their car breaks down and they suddenly have this big auto repair bill, just all sorts of stuff like that, okay? So as I mentioned in the beginning, this is not an exhaustive list. There are more things, but there's a group of individuals that I meet with, and we were chatting about a whole bunch of different things the other day relating to the spiritual realm and psychic protection. And one of the things that kept coming up was that whatever vulnerability you already have, the dark forces take advantage of that. So that's why it's really important to be aware of what your vulnerability or vulnerabilities are, not to keep you in a fear state or anything like that, but just when you know what they are, then you can be more aware and manage things. And so if there is a money issue, for example, or you suddenly feel an upsurge in your depression or anxiety, you can take a look at that and say, is there, and just try to discern, is there a reason for that? Or do I think maybe I might be under psychic attack, or there might be some negative energy coming at me. And so it can help you with the discernment process. So let's see what Stephanie has to say. I know I have had people sent to me to be a distraction and suck my energy. I had a phone call today after I got off this call and was like, this was a distraction call. Yes. Totally, Stephanie. I think we're right on the same wavelength. Yeah. It was all to get you stirred up. And I had a situation a couple of days ago where it was like, okay, that was just to stir me up and get me in a different emotional state, right? So anytime that the dark forces can get you stirred up, upset, out of focus, all of that, or feeling sicker, or not having enough money to pay your bills, like all of that, it's all to keep you off of your path. So I did make some notes, and I know I already touched on this, but I'm going to go over it again. What to do about this? So first of all, what to do about this issue of these vulnerabilities? First of all, be self-aware. I already mentioned this, but I want to emphasize it. Develop a self-awareness where you understand, you know yourself well, rather than trying to escape yourself and live up in the spiritual realms. You need to be fully embodied so that you're tapped into your emotions and tuned in and embodied within your physical body. You've got to be present. Being more present means that you'll be able to be more aware, and that if there is any kind of psychic attack coming your way, then you'll have a better chance of identifying it. And really, a lot of the power of that attack is diminished as soon as you recognize it for what it is. Just like with Stephanie's example, she had a weird phone call that was sucking her energy. As soon as she got off the phone, she was like, oh, I know what this is. This is a distraction. This is one of the things that they do. And then all of a sudden, that hold that it had on you just drops down to the floor. It's kind of like magic. I love it. Also, you got to work on your stuff, your inner shadow, whatever you want to call it, your false limiting beliefs, past traumas, all of that. And that kind of work doesn't happen overnight. So you've got to figure out a way that you want to work on that stuff, whether it's a trusted friend, whether it's talking to your cat, whether it's writing in your journal, whether it's working with a good therapist, whether it's working with an energy healer, an intuitive coach, whatever, to work on some of your stuff. Because if all of that stuff is left unresolved, all of that emotional stuff is left unresolved, especially if you're totally tuned out and like oblivious to it, it will be running the show, and it's like fodder for the dark forces. Like, it will give them so much ammunition to work with. Also, another tip of what to do with this, you need to learn about your energy field. If you don't know about your aura, your chakras, your energy system, you need to learn about what your anatomy is. Just like you need to know about what your physical anatomy is. You need to understand how it functions so that you'll be able to tune in and be aware if there's anything going on in your energy field. So, and related to that, you need to learn how to manage your energy. And those are all things that I teach. So even if you're like, I don't know how to do any of that, well, you're in the right place. These are things that I teach. And if you feel like you need assistance, then you can message me and ask me what direction I suggest that you go as far as with my offerings, with what you're needing. But the number one thing for you to do to safeguard yourself from this is to be aware. Be self-aware. Be aware of your emotions. Be tuned into your body and be present. That means trying to be a little more quiet in your life, having some more moments of quiet where you have the opportunity to tune in. Okay, so do you have any questions before we finish things up for today? Maybe it was better that we didn't have a ton of people because I had a lot to cover. That was definitely a solid, well, it was like 40, I forget when I started on the content. We had a lot of introduction stuff, but it was definitely a lot of solid info. So type your questions now. I will wait just about a minute because there's about a minute delay while I get a drink. And if you don't type your question, then you can type it later and I will see it. Just make sure you tag me because sometimes comments get lost in the video comments. So tonight, right after I get off this Facebook Live, in 30 minutes from now, I have my psychic protection mentorship students that I meet with over video, not Facebook Live, but a virtual classroom where we can all see each other. And we go into intermediate and advanced content where we learn about all sorts of psychic protection and just tons of stuff. It's awesome. I love it. So I don't see any questions. That's great. If you think of any, you can post them later. And as I sign out, I'll just remind you of my website in case you would like to work with me further. My website is www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And Jeannie is saying, thanks, Maya. As always, great info. You're welcome, Jeannie. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Jennifer is saying, thank you, Maya. You're welcome. And all of you, let me know if you have any questions or, you know, if you have any situations come up this week where you're like, ooh, that's one of those things Maya was talking about. Please feel free to share. I would love for you to share in the Facebook group so we can all learn together. Just a reminder that we're having our Facebook Lives in this group once a month now, and they are on third Mondays, the third Monday at 6 p.m. Central. And since they're not every week, it can be easy to forget and get off track. So I suggest that you put it in your calendar. Grab your phone calendar after this is over and put it in there as a repeating event and with a little alarm that goes off 10 minutes before. That way you'll be able to join us every time. Until next time, I will see you later, sending you all my love.